All right, hello everyone. Welcome to CollectAWrestlePalooza. Today is the big reveal. We've got Josh Waxpack Man and Eric Dirk Diggler on the phone here with me.
Hello, hello.
So, folks that have been following this project, first of all, thank you. If you haven't been following this project, let me give you a little bit of background in terms of what we've been doing. So, Josh and I are lifelong wrestling collectors. We've since met Eric Dirk Diggler as well, who's a seasoned pro in his collection. And we decided we wanted to dip our toes into VHS. So we corresponded back and forth via text, email, voice, etc., and decided that we were going to each spend $200 during the month of May and wait and reveal what our purchases were on camera. So today's the day. We're going to reveal our purchases. We each spent $200. That was the budget. I think Josh spent his in about 2 days. I spent mine in about 2 weeks. But we both got through it, and we both have some cool stuff here. So before we get going on the reveal, though, I do want to introduce Eric Dirk Diggler. He is a lifelong collector. And a pro. He knows much more about this subject matter than either Josh or I do. So hopefully he'll be able to chime in and let us know if our purchases were great, if they weren't so good, any thoughts, and also things about what he purchased along the same time. I think that he's beefing up his VHS collection as well. Eric, do you want to tell people how they can find you? Tell a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Eric Burgess. I go by Dirk Diggler 1525 on Twitter and eBay, and also on oldwrestlingcards.com. Catch me on the forums over there. And I've just been collecting since like the late 80s. Started out with trading cards and figures, and basically turned into everything after that. Currently just, mostly focus on trading cards and VHS tapes.
Nice. And how long have you been collecting wrestling specifically, or has that been what you've been collecting all along?
Yeah, basically since the late 80s, pro wrestling. I did sports cards too there for a while, and other oddball stuff like G.I. Joes, Ninja Turtles, basically anything and everything, comic books. But the wrestling has really been my main focus the whole entire time.
Nice. So you're an OG, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm a little late to the game, the late 80s, but, I try to educate myself on all of the older stuff, I'm still learning along the way.
So before we get started in the reveal, last couple weeks have been pretty potent, of course, in the hobby and also in wrestling. We know Ric Flair is going to make his final appearance. How do you guys feel about that?
Oh, man, I don't know. I'll tune in, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I hope it's not like Vince's stunner at WrestleMania. No one's talking that narrative, but I see a 30-second clip of him training on Instagram. I'm like, God bless him. He's still got the spirit, but I worry about these guys,
Yeah, I hear you.
Same here, bro.
I hear you.
I kind of want to preserve them like these VHSs. So.
See, one of the differences with Nate, in my opinion, is that he knows how to put on a show no matter what. So I feel like even if he is not physically there, it's still going to be a spectacle. It's still going to be something worth watching. But
well, the whole thing is, have you watched, real quick nugget, have you watched Steamboat and Jericho's match from like 09? Steamboat can still go. Like he's really in shape. He runs a gym, I think, in North Carolina. He might be able to carry him for a little bit.
Is that who he's wrestling, is Steamboat?
I think so. Isn't that the rumor? Or am I wrong? I think Steamboat declined the match, I believe. I did see something on that, though. I know what you're talking about.
The other thing is, apparently it's a reuniting of the Four Horsemen. I saw the poster and saw that. I wasn't aware that was going to happen. But that should be interesting, too, with Arn and Tully. And who's the fourth? Who was the original? Well, the original fourth was the guy, the kayfabe Barnes.
The one interesting correlation is that the NWA card of them, 88 card, is jumping the four of them in the picture because of. I think there's a nice crossover between buzz media about wrestling now to cards. I don't think there was a disconnect there before. I think, but now it's really translating really well. Like Undertaker goes in the Hall of Fame, stuff's popping, you know.
So one question I have, and I guess this is more for Eric or Josh if you want to chime in too, but Josh and I getting into VHS now, how do you feel about the timing of that? I mean, you've obviously been in it since, you said, the 80s. Has it seen ups and downs? Is it still waiting to peak? What's your opinion on that?
You know, I think the demand is always going to be there for the older stuff. Some of the newer stuff I've seen going up too. It's kind of crazy. The newer WWF home videos now are kind of, you know, people are asking $20, $30, even $50 each. You know, those are tapes that you used to be able to get for $5, $10 all day long. And it did, you know, I remember in the late 90s when WWF did a lot of re-releases. And, you know, I know when the anthologies came out on DVD, VHS prices, they did drop back then. But now with everybody, you know, on the grading train, I think it's just ignited a fire in the hobby again.
Right. Well, something Josh and I have talked about quite a bit on the previous episodes and offline as well is intrinsic value and the idea of collectors maybe moving away from cards and trying to find things that have a little bit more substance to them, something that has not only the nostalgia factor, but also something that maybe you played with or interacted with as a child, and those types of items maybe holding their value more into the future. Again, just speculation. I know the hobby has ups and downs, but in terms of collecting, there's something to buying an action figure or buying a VHS as opposed to buying a card. So,
yeah, sure. And then that's, you know, the memory of the rental shops, you know, just for me walking in there and seeing all these different wrestling VHS tapes lined up, you know, and you getting to, you know, pick which tapes you rented and, you know, going there on a Thursday or Friday night, you get that extra rental night or whatever it was. And that's really, you know, where it's at for me, just trying to bring those memories to life, man, you know, getting the VHS tapes in front of you and just kind of setting up that old mental picture of the rental shops.
Now, do you watch your VHS? Do you have copies in your collection that you actually play?
Yes, I do, man. I have a pretty big, like previously viewed collection. One of the local rental shops, they switched owners. I want to say maybe in like 95, 96, and I bought out basically everything they had.
Are there VHSs out there that have unique content you can't find anywhere else? Do you know that?
Yes, there is.
Any nuggets on that off the top of your head?
Well, the main thing for me, I like the older stuff. You know, I like the 80s, you know, late 80s, early 90s. You know, stuff that was re-released like on DVD. A lot of your original music is gone. You know, the entrance music, it's dubbed over.
I heard about that also, with, I think, Sandman on ECW. Didn't he used to enter with Enter Sandman, and then they had to cut that out on the network when they redid it?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they did. Some of the later Coliseum video releases, like the In Your Houses, they had some oddball ones, too, like, trying to think of the name, like Lumberjacks or something, or like, and those are really rare, man. I don't know where you're going to find some of that footage at. You know, it's definitely not like on YouTube or on network.
It's almost like EFTs, or, you know, it almost reminds me of that, where you have this visual that you uniquely own you can't find anywhere else, you know? All right, so quickly before we get into the reveal, one more thing. I want you guys to have a chance to plug. I know you just started the website, Old Wrestling Cards. What's going on with that? How's it going?
It's been a fun ride so far. I don't want to take up too much of your airways, but yeah, we built a message forum basically overnight. Bought a domain a little while back and had a vision and just kind of wanted to put everybody under one roof.
Awesome. So everyone check it out. Is it oldwrestlingcards.com or owc.com or what's the domain?
Oldwrestlingcards.com. If you have any questions, Eric and I are just feel free to reach out to us.
And speaking of which, I just purchased this morning WWF VHS.com. Couldn't believe that was still available. And joking that Vince McMahon's going to be knocking down my door saying, you know, how did you guys let this go? How did we not own this this domain already? And I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it or what, but there's a lot of interesting domains still out there in the wrestling realm.
Not to be like Shane O'Mac, but I went after you. We should probably tell them a little bit of the backstory, no? And I thought of the 2001 Brawl when Shane and Paul came out. So I went out and bought ECW VHS. And then I went and bought WCW VHS just to kind of keep the spirit of wrestling alive, you know?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You'll probably be the big breadwinner.
Yeah, right. Well, maybe not, because I think WWF will probably come after me for copyright infringement, whereas WCW and ECW might be safer. But
I don't know. Vince might just cut you a check, and you might ride it off into the sunset and own half of Maine. We don't know yet.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I think
iron sharpens iron too. This is why all this conversation is good. Like we all get sharper and better at stuff too.
Right.
Yeah, that's my theory, at least. You know, I didn't infringe on Tom's space, and I win. Everybody wins. You know, I think there's enough meat on the bone, but.
Well, the ultimate thing is it grows the hobby. I mean, one thing that I've posted on Twitter about recently, and I've been thinking a lot about, is, you know, we're seeing some decline in prices on certain things, and I say, oh man, I just bought that, and this is actually going to be a segue into one of my tape reveals, because I bought 2 copies of one tape, because I bought it at one price, and then I saw it even cheaper, and that pissed me off, so I went and I bought the cheaper one too, but the reality is that as long as it's selling, that's good. You know, as long as there's stuff going on in the hobby, even if people are buying Hasbros for $1 a piece, you know, they're going to turn, they're going to change hands. People are going to ask a little bit more the next time they sell it. You know, I think the worst thing for the hobby is inactivity.
Well, I think Tom understands markets better than anybody, and I think you would agree we need like long-term guys, short-term guys, like guys that are in and out, all kinds of like, you know, to make this thing go round. There's so much divide of like, oh, this guy's just a dealer, this guy's just a collector. Like, you need all that. You can't just have guys in the stock market that are long forever or guys that are short forever. You know, it's not going to be sustainable.
All right, so I think it's time. Let's start doing the reveal here. Eric, you have a list of the stuff I purchased, and I'm going to be very transparent about it. It doesn't bother me if people know what I paid for these items. That's part of the fun. The first one I'll start with is, this is the one I bought twice. It's I did buy a UFC. Everything I bought was sealed. So the first one was Ultimate Fighting Championship, Road to the Heavyweight title. It's UFC 18. There aren't too many notable bouts on it. It does have Pat Miletich. It does have Bas Rutten. It's got Mark Coleman, who we all know is the first UFC heavyweight champion. So this was sort of the dark days of the UFC. You know, they had their spurt at the beginning, and then John McCain or whoever that tried to ban them, this is during that time. So I like sealed UFC. I think that early sealed UFC is good. First one I bought for $19.82 all in. Second one I bought for $12.66 all in.
Well, with the UFC, man, I know the first one, the beginning, is really hot right now. I know one sold at Golden Auctions. I think it was back in February for like over 4K. I believe it was like a 9-box and a 10 seal. But yeah, the UFC tapes, they're really getting a lot of attention right now, it seems like, and rightfully so. I mean, I think it gives a new collectible for the MMA guys. You see like Panini doing the Prism cards, and you're seeing the UFC figures now like right next to the wrestling guys at Walmart. So you know, it makes sense that the VHS is taking off as well.
And I remember too when those things first landed in the video stores. There was something about it. It was almost like renting an X-rated movie or something.
Yeah, that taboo, man.
Exactly. So owning those original VHSs now, I thought was pretty cool. Josh, what was your first purchase?
I bought Rampage '92. It got me and you talking too as well. With Ultimate Warrior on the cover. This was $10 shipped to my door. Still factory sealed. I'll post my videos on my channel after this, but this got me hooked. I was all in. It was beautiful. 40-man battle royal. You know, he looks great on the cover. It's a really, like, this would look great on somebody's desk. That's also why I like this. I look at this as like a piece of art to me. And I even look at trading cards like that in some way. Like they're like mail art, you know. So it's a really beautiful one. And $10. I mean, the shipping alone had to be $4. Yeah, that's a great tape, man, with a great price too. I know you can still pick those Rampage '92s up pretty reasonable on eBay. But yeah, a great shot of the Ultimate Warrior from the early 90s.
Nice.
We got the Tonka on the side of it too, and a little known fact about him, he had a big undefeated streak going in the WWF for a long time.
And folks that want to check out Josh's videos, Wax Pac-Man on YouTube, on other social media platforms as well. My second tape here, this one had Ken Shamrock on the front. It's not UFC, but I was excited just because, again, the price was so cheap. There were some auctions I found. I bought everything on eBay. I got this $9.52 landed, an early Pride Fighting Championship. It was actually Pride 10, Return of the Warriors. And this one, in addition to having Ken Shamrock, it's got Renzo Gracie, it's got Gary Goodridge, Igor Vorchanchin. It's got an early Wanderlei Silva against Guy Metzger. High-end Gracie, Vitor Belfort. It's got a lot of big names. So under $10 for a sealed Pride, I thought that was a pretty good steal too.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool, man. Seeing that Pride fighting, I had to go research that after I seen that on your list. I used to watch that quite a bit back in the day, so cool to see that branching out a little bit and getting something different,
The cover art on the Pride stuff with the lightning bolts and all that, really, really cool.
Yeah, UFC 7 too. Nice shot of Shamrock on the cover there.
Yep, we're getting there. Just teased one of my next ones.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, it's all good. Josh, what do you got next?
So this actually might have fueled the conversation with Eric. I bought Supertape 92, the beta version. Bret Hart on the cover. It says here there's a special profile on the Undertaker. I really want to open this, but I got to send it out to grade. It's just Bret is beating the crap out of somebody in the picture. There's actually a magnifying glass on the back of this sealed with this one. It's got all the matches from Tuesday in Texas. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff that's not on the internet in this one for sure. But, well, I mean, I posted that video on Instagram of me firing up the VHS player, and like 30 people came out of the woodwork. And they were like, oh, I got this stuff too. I got the same VHS player. I was like, interesting. So there's guys hiding out in the weeds that are doing this that aren't talking about it too.
I mean, I thought that was interesting too. Josh and I were going back and forth about the VHS. So I went into my basement and I found my old VHS player, which I still had, but realized it's not stereo. It looked like it was a pretty cheap model. So I thought that was interesting too about, some of the stuff I think you were saying, Eric, about making sure it was a stereo VCR and making sure that it's a quality playback, which is something I didn't even think about back in the day.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, I think they avoid trying to rewind tapes too, like in your VCR player. I know it's a lot easier on the tape if you can get like a rewind machine.
Are there new VCRs still being manufactured and sold?
Great question. I don't know. Maybe that's why the Amazon prices are so high, because they don't make them, Yeah, I don't think there is, man.
Right.
I have a lot of wrestling tapes like that, just stuff recorded, old episodes of Nitro and Raw, pay-per-views, stuff like that.
Well, I also saw, when I was looking at eBay, it looked like there were people selling just recordings off of the TV of old wrestling
I saw
stuff.
the same thing. They do that with concerts and stuff too.
All right, so off the topic, but for any viewers that have made it this far in the video, what's your favorite entrance music of all time?
Oh man, I really liked the Rougeau brothers, All American Boys,
Interesting.
and Strike Force.
The Rougeaus, didn't they started as a Canadian team when they were heels?
Yeah.
Didn't they convert and become U.S. citizens or something and carry around tiny American flags? I seem to remember that image.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to remember them. A few of them that come to mind for me. Earthquake. I loved Earthquake and just the natural disasters. I loved that. I never saw it live, but I could just imagine being in the auditoriums and hearing that booming earthquake noise and then having this behemoth guy come out. I've also really liked Great Muda. I don't know if you've ever heard his original theme song.
I gotta go with Shawn Michaels. It's easy for me. It's a no-brainer. just gets my blood pumping, man. And I was an introverted, shy kid, and like that just lit me up. Like, and then I found out more about his life as he went on. That he was really shy, and that was like a whole different character for him. He like morphed into somebody else.
When I think of Shawn Michaels, I always go back to the barbershop, and I always feel bad for Marty Jannetty. I don't know why. It's one of those things. It's almost
iconic.
It's almost like when Justin Timberlake had the wardrobe malfunction with Janet Jackson, and then his career took off, and Janet Jackson's plummeted. Shawn Michaels at that point became one of the GOATs as a single performer, and Marty Jannetty went nowhere.
The other one that catches me, I don't know if you remember this, is when he lost his smile, Raw. That was so capturing to me. There was like people crying in the stands. Like, that was real life stuff. I think he was struggling with addiction then. You know, I think that wasn't all scripted.
Right.
Like, that was your first like realness of like, wow, like this guy's going through something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we thought everything was so choreographed, but I don't think it was in that moment. I think that's when he was in the height of some of the, his addiction.
All right, well, getting back to VHS, that's what we're talking about on this video primarily. We're having a conversation about Beta versus VHS. What does that mean, Eric? You were talking something about that. What is the difference between Beta and VHS? And I don't think we necessarily mean Beta Max. I think aren't there some VHS tapes that say Beta on them or Beta copy? Is there something to that?
I'm not sure about that one. I just know the Betamax tapes and VHS. Betamax was just like pre-VHS. Really, it came out I think a year or two before VHS. Sony created the Betamax and the player JVC. They're the ones that created VHS. Betas had the slightly better sound and better picture quality, but VHS eventually won over just cost, really. The VHS players were cheaper to make than a Betamax player. I think the tapes were as well, I want to say. And also, I don't know how true this is, but JVC shared, their technology, like RCA and other companies, where Sony really kept a tight grip on the Betamax. I think they were the only ones that really were involved with that and the players and stuff. I don't think they ever sold anything to another company.
What about collectability?
To me, the Betamaxes are rare. They're really rare. You don't see them often. I see more VHS tapes than I do Betamax tapes, especially sealed. Mm-hmm. So I think they got that going for them. As far as the price, it's kind of all over the place, man. I've seen some very reasonable. I've seen some, command a really high price tag.
Right. Well, of course, from a collector's standpoint, the two main points of collecting is rarity, but also desirability. And I wonder if Beta, just with this nostalgia, I don't know, as a child, I knew anyone that had a Betamax player. There may be less nostalgia on that. I don't know. That's an interesting point, though. All right, well, I'm going to get on to my next video here. Another UFC. I bought a bunch of UFC, as you know, Eric. We're going to go with one that you had mentioned earlier in the video, UFC 7, the Brawling Buffalo, which I bought all in, sealed, freight, shipped, $29.51. Now, the thing I liked about that checked off a couple boxes for me. One, it was an early UFC. I wanted... one thing I was targeting, looking at the whole VHS thing as a whole, is I wanted to try to find, of course, pre-1990, but if it wasn't pre-1990, I wanted it to be when DVDs came out. I wanted to buy things that were only released on VHS at the time. So the early UFCs, of course, fit that. And the nice thing about this one in particular, even though it was really not a great card, was Marco Huas winning the tournament. Not really an electric fighter, at least for me. But it did have the super fight between Ken Shamrock and Oleg Taktarov. Terrible fight, but anything with Ken Shamrock, early Ken Shamrock.
Yeah, world's most dangerous man.
Exactly. I know.
He still looks good, though. I saw a picture on him on Twitter the other day holding his grandson, I think, or granddaughter. He still looks like he can go. He's jacked up. His eyes look bad, like he had glasses on. I couldn't tell if it was just the tint from the glasses, but he's still... Someone made a comment to me, like, what are you talking about? He looks like he could still bring it.
One thing I love about Shamrock is he just has that old school fighter mentality. You can just tell he's from the old school. You don't mess with that guy. It's all about respect and pride and
Legit tough guy, man. Oh yeah. You say his name and my hands just go to his side, like you know how he used to hold out like that, like and he's just screaming and he's flexing there, like he does that pose. Like I used to love him before he would like snap or do his move. You know what I'm talking about?
it was like a snake recoiling, getting ready to strike. I see him also. He's like Stu Hart in a way. You know, Stu Hart's Dungeon. It was an old school. The Lions Den back in the day. I mean, they used to beat each other up.
And to educate our audience in the interim, you cannot buy a VHS or a VCR player. The last one was manufactured in 2016. And there's no other major tech companies that make them right now. And that company was Funai, Funai. I don't know how to pronounce that, electric.
So what is your next reveal, Josh?
$25 buy, Bam Bam Bigelow and Friends. TV never had it and never will. 1988, Dusty Woods Entertainment. Sealed. Could be sealed in someone's garage, but it looks really nice. It's the only one of him in a singlet that's not on fire. Like, you know, he had the flame outfit.
Yep.
This is like really early days. He's from New Jersey, so I was fond of him. Him and Luna used to scare the crap out of me as a kid, but I love him. It says too violent for TV. USA versus Japan. It's really cool cover.
That is amazing. Now, is there? You mentioned the date on that pre-1990. Is there a cutoff with? I had just thrown a dart at the board and said pre-1990. I thought was more desirable. Is there anything to that?
Anything that's I think Coliseum video besides like the common ones. There's common Coliseum videos too, but anything Coliseum video to me is more desirable. As soon as they switched over to WWF home video, some of those are more common, but still they're getting rare, dude. People are buying them up. That's really like your only choice on some of those. It is the re-release.
Interesting tip, though. I mean, as always with the auctions, there's going to be scammers. There's going to be people trying to take advantage of folks who are green, and I certainly am green, but I knew enough. I saw sealed WrestleManias that were re-releases, but it was not listed in the auction heading or anything at all, with astronomical prices. People trying to pawn off these re-releases as original prints. So that's an interesting tip with that. I think WWF did a lot of re-releases, correct?
Yeah, a few. I know they did the box set, and I know they did the releases in like '98 of the WrestleManias with the gray border.
Right. Right.
There could be another one too. I'm not for sure.
So Bam Bam Bigelow, 1980s. That's awesome. Now, when he first came into the WWF, I remember a manager, like all the managers came to the ring and were all vying to get him. And I think, didn't Oliver Humperdinck, or who's that guy with the red beard? I forget his name. The original Bam Bam Bigelow manager back in the 80s.
Yep.
Love
He has one of the most iconic tattoos of all time. Like everyone talks about Mike Tyson's face tattoo. Like Bam Bam had his whole head done in flames, Right. It was crazy.
Yeah, anything Bam Bam, and as a figure collector too, I know with the Hasbros and with the LJNs, the Bam Bam Bigelow figure commands a huge price. I think part of that's the rarity, but also part of it, I think, is just like you said, just the icon of the character.
Some of those guys went quick too, like him and Crush. I love those guys, and they died pretty young, so that was hard for I think a lot of people.
My next VHS. This one, I feel like I got a great price on it. It was a UFC 13, the Ultimate Force, sealed, delivered for $7.54. It was an auction that was ending. I forget when it was ending, but I was either up at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. some Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. And the seller was literally, I don't want to say his name, but the seller was something along the lines of Josh sells his stuff. Or Jim sells his stuff. That was the seller's name. So I just imagined it was some guy unloading his basement. He didn't have many VHSs at all. He just had this one. So it was probably an odd and an end. But the interesting part about it is it says it's the trailer screener, not for rent or sale. So I won it for 99 cents. I was the only bidder. And then the rest of it was the freight. But the back of the box doesn't list much about it. It's more of a promotional. And I think that this is something that was sent to the rental stores prior to the actual release to see if they wanted to get in. So a lot of, featuring main event super fight Tank Abbott versus Vitor Belfort. Bonus offer, buy any two, get one free. So it looks like it's marketed for the video stores. Again, I don't know if there's rarity in that or not. It has the famous fight with Tito Ortiz against Guy Metzger. For any MMA fans, you know that that's an infamous fight. So again, pretty cool event, and I thought it was a great price.
The screeners, they're pretty rare to find them sealed. Most of the time those got open, and they got put in at the rental shops, like you said, and they got watched. People viewed them. So to find the screeners still sealed, it's pretty cool. It's screeners are something I actually try to seek out when it comes to like blockbuster movies. So to find a UFC one, it's I don't know a whole lot about them, but it's got to be pretty rare, I would say.
And I like the fact on those rare things like that too. I feel like I can name the price. I mean, it's mine to own now, and if there aren't too many out there, then that's something that attracts me to wrestling and these niche things as well, where there's just so much volatility in pricing. Is the market's not dictating the price. I'm dictating the price of what it's worth to me. So I always like objects like that, the oddball stuff.
Yeah, find another one.
Yeah, exactly. One to watch and then one to sell. All right, what do you got next, Josh?
I want to give a quick nugget too. That Jim sells his stuff. That's a great idea. There's a lot of weekend warrior garage sale type people that fire sale these VHSs and don't think anything about it. Like I definitely comb through somebody's eBay stuff when I'm bidding on stuff to see if he's like a seasoned pro or like an amateur guy out on the weekend trying to make an extra $50. You can find a lot of opportunity there. The Wrestling Gold, the Best of Wrestling Gold area inspired this one, featuring Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. I got Rick Rude. You got an arm wrestle match going on with Giant and Hogan on the cover. Kit Parker video out of Monterey, California. Pretty cool. Still sealed, sort of. Looks like it's been in a hurricane, but I like it. Yeah, it's got some cool shots on the cover. Yeah, on the back, you got Flair all bloody up and hanging on the ring here. Looks like he's near death. There's only 6 matches, but this one's only 15 minutes. That runtime on that Bam, by the way, is like an hour and a half. Some of these have some good chunks of time in them too.
All right, so I am done with UFC now. I'm gonna move on. I've got one more UFC. I apologize. UFC 19 Young Guns. Won't say much about it, but early Chuck Liddell, early Tito Ortiz, just a cool name for an event. I always thought Young Guns was just a cool way to market MMA fights. 2509 delivered, sealed.
Am I up?
Go for it.
I think the next one, there's some honorable mention ones in here that were for a song, but next one I guess I'll go is Andre the Giant, The Missing Matches. This is kind of an impulse buy. This and the last one I called him Ricari. There was a match on here. I wanted the Iron Sheik versus King Cobra from 1982. Obviously I was born in 83, so I wanted to watch that. The artwork on this cover is fascinating. They're really cool, man. Just to put this on your desk, like his face is great. I know this is the one teaser I let out, but
nice.
Yeah, the Missing Matches series, they're cool, man. They look nice. I have the Hulk Hogan one. That's another tape, man. It was a lot more common. You've seen them around, but now it's the price has gone up and fewer and far in between. Can I ask you a quick question, Eric? Are most of these come out of California? The last two, Monterey, and then this one is Montebello. That's 3G home video. These are like all, it seems like amateur, small budget guys, or? Yeah, there is some oddball releases out there, man. I think, I don't know what stores sold those. I feel like the Missing Matches were ones you would find like at I don't know, like places like, I don't know, Big Lots. You remember that store? Yeah, or like an IGA supermarket or something weird. Like when I would go to the Poconos, I'd find all different wrestling stuff than I would in the greater Philadelphia area. Poconos is like a resort vacation area. It would be like two different worlds, man. It would be like night and day. It was weird. I don't know how the supply chains worked back in the day, but it was it was way different. So there's also some, I believe some, I want to say from the mid '90s, like right before WWF switched to home video. There's actually a few oddball tapes that are marked Coliseum Video, but then they were like re-released by Good Times Video.
Nice.
Interesting, because it looks like the Pioneer Entertainment Group is the one that carried ECW in the '90s. So some of these are like kind of consistent, and then some of them are all over the place where they were manufactured. So I have a copy of this Wrestling Gold, just like yours, Josh, I believe. And I know same one. Yeah, Kit Parker Video. This one actually has a watermark on it from Central Park Media. So that's the first I've ever seen that either. Central Park Media watermark. Call the customer service number after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like videos too. I like the one that you had just mentioned there, the Wrestling Gold or whatever it's called. I like videos that have artwork on the front. I know a lot of the Coliseums they have the airbrush Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior and Randy Savage, and I like the wrestling videos from that era. I know a lot of movies, VHS movies, they used to do that as well. Some of them even looked like photographs, but they were paintings. They'd commission some graphic artist to make these amazing pictures and portraits of the wrestlers. And so I'm going to move on to my next one here. This one here, I don't know if it got a great price. I saw a few of them available around this price, but I feel like it's just a buy and hold. Is WWF Wrestlemania 14. Sealed, of course, Mike Tyson on the front, Stone Cold. Just some amazing matches in that. Paid $36.90 all in. So again, I think you can still buy them between $20, $30, $40, but I just felt like that was an iconic event where Tyson's on the front.
Yeah, they're going up, man.
Really?
That just goes to show right there that tape, getting those kind of prices. That's more of a mass-produced one there, but I know it's getting a lot of attention with Tyson on the cover, I'm sure, and Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels. So I think it's really going to gain popularity, especially with Tyson. For me, Tyson sells it.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. That big iconic crossover, you can't go wrong, I don't think. It's huge. I guess my next ones, I'll just go through these real quick because these are like $10 cheap ones. I bought Undertaker, This Is My Yard for like $10 at a yard sale. I think she threw him Beyond the Mat that was sealed, a doc that Vince didn't want to watch. These are probably mass produced, the China Fitness for $10. I think she just looks incredible on the cover of this actually. And then Chris Jericho, Break the Walls. He's probably not going anywhere as an entertainer. So those were some cheapy, your budget type ones that I bought too.
Nice, but I think you bring up a good point there about mass produced, because I've always said just because something's mass produced doesn't mean that it's not desirable. I think of from the junk wax era for baseball cards. What's one card that's commanding a premium over and over again? The Ken Griffey Jr. Donruss, whatever year that is. There's thousands upon thousands of PSA 10s, but it's a desirable card because everyone wants it and it's just an iconic card. So, it might be mass produced, it might be $10 now, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good object that brings nostalgia and that people want.
I think that's a great point. There's a Bo Jackson that just sold recently, and I was like, I thought I had 800 of these. Why did this card, I think it touched something crazy, like 15K or something, a new record, or it was up like 2,000%. And I was like, man, I thought I had like 60 of those as a kid, and here it is fetching some serious money.
Right.
So you might be totally right. The only thing I say is that, like Eric said, like they all have the home video WWF. So once they got into that realm, I think that's when they cranked the dial up and really started cranking these things out by the truckload. It's hard to say how many sealed are out there too. There could be a guy with a storage unit or whatever with a whole case of sealed tapes just sitting there, waiting. Well, how many of them got recycled? How many of them ended up in the dumpster? Like everyone says, oh, I'm building a 1971 Chevy pickup, and they're like, man, that's a rare truck. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, oh man, that Cash for Clunkers program, half of these ended up off the road. And I was like, seriously? And sure enough, they're not out there anymore. It's hard to find good stuff. So
Right. By the time it's rare, it's already too late. Or by the time it's deemed rare, it's already too late. It could be, like you said, it could be some guy has one box in a warehouse and is flooding the market right now. But in 6 months,
yeah,
the market will not be flooded. It might just be a a normal ebb and flow of inventory.
if you do come across a big bounty, don't peel it all fall at once. You're killing the market for yourself.
Exactly.
I made that mistake too.
Exactly. I know it's easier to list on eBay if you put 15 of something, but that's not always the best best strategy. All right, so I've got two more here. I'm gonna go with just a classic tape, again sealed. Everything I bought was sealed. WWF Hulkamania 4. Great picture of Hulk on the front. It does have the correct watermark. 3138 delivered. And I was nervous about this one because this was one that introduced me to watermarks because the seller did not put a picture of the watermark on the listing. But I took the risk and, and it did have the correct watermark on it. So great copy of that. Again, anything Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania.
Yeah, that's a great tape, man. Great cover shot. The Hulkster. I have one myself. I think I have it previously viewed as well and sealed.
Yep.
And that's a good price too. I mean, that's solid. That's another tape that I think you're gonna see fewer of those pop up for sale. I know there's still some available on eBay. That's when you can actually still find sealed copies of a few here and there.
Right.
But,
yeah, he's standing. He's standing on the. He's standing on like the Earth. It says the most powerful force in the universe, and he's ripped. I mean, he's so jacked in this era.
Yeah, some great shots of Hulk on the back of that too, with him with face off with Zeus outside the steel cage.
Yep.
All right, my last one is UFC 3 unsealed. I just saw that the sealed version commanded a lot of money. In 1994, I was not thinking about UFC. I was 11. I actually think Ken Shamrock put UFC on the map for me when he came to the WWF. Vince was smart cross promoting that, but I think the UFC almost owes Vince a debt of gratitude for all the people he's probably brought over to that, and vice versa. But this is cool. I mean, I don't know much about this at all. You would know better than me, Tom. I mean, I sent you this after I bought it used today. The original ones go for some serious coin.
Yeah, so, I mean, in my opinion, and I don't know the market for it, but just in terms of the, I was a big UFC fan, so in terms of the events themselves and the fighters and which ones are more remarkable, UFC 3 was the first time Hoist Gracie lost. He had a bout with chemo. It was a great event. I think any of the first 4 UFCs have such because that was Hoist Gracie's reign, and of course Hoist Gracie, Hall of Famer, MMA people know that he's the Godfather. He won 3 of the first 4 tournaments. He won UFC 1, UFC 2, and UFC 4, and he was defeated in UFC 3. So I think any of the first 4 UFCs, sealed, unsealed, just for the cultural significance alone, I think that's a great buy. So my last one here, I was excited about this one because I feel like I got a steal on it. WCW sealed Clash of the Champions 3 for $35.53 landed. Again, it was an auction. I just happened upon it, bid on it, wasn't expecting to win, put in what I thought I was willing to pay, and ended up winning the auction. So again, early WCW Clash of the Champions, pre-1990. I think I saw some other versions of that. I don't think I saw sales, but I saw them listed on auctions for 3 figures at least. So that was more of a less nostalgia, just more good value.
Well, I'm all out, but I did just buy UFC VHS.com because for some reason that was still available. Like, folks, there's opportunity out there.
Wow.
How the heck? This gets my blood pumping. I'm like running around like Shawn Michaels now. How is that still available? How is WWF VHS.com still available? I mean, I'm not saying, I'm going to send my daughter to Cornell, but that's the American dream, isn't it?
Yeah. The thing about those URLs as well, as everyone that buys domains know, less characters, the better. I mean, there are some oddball, XZY ABC domains that sell for 7 figures. I mean, it's amazing. Not 7, maybe 5 figures, but short these short domain names that are still available. It's crazy.
Well, that's why I think collaborating with guys like that, because you guys get my juices going. That's how the world goes round, man. Like, I wouldn't have thought about that unless, you know, we inspired each other, you know, and throw the ball back and forth and try to help each other. Like, it's so, I mean, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just went back to work and forgot about it. And now, you know, who knows?
Well, wrapping up, guys, you know, for me, this whole experiment was about just saying we can do it and there's value out there. You know, I feel really good about the tapes I purchased. I don't think I overpaid for anything really. I mean, I feel like I've got some investments. Before I get more into VHS, I think I'm going to maybe try to market one or two of them, see if there's interest out there, play it a little bit. Of course, I'm a seller at heart and a collector as well. So, you know, I don't want to beef up on something that I'm not going to be able to move at some point. But I feel good about it. I feel good about holding the objects, and I think it was a win for me.
Both of you picked out some really good tapes.
Nice.
Good deals, too, you know.
Well, there's more out there. Anyone that's listening, if you've made it this far, if you've watched all 3 episodes, thank you. If you haven't, there's episode 1 and 2. And thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for making it this far, like I said. One final thing, I might splice in some images of these VHSs. If I don't, please be sure to check out videos on the Wax Pack Man's YouTube, where I'm sure he's going to be marketing the VHS and showing you the pictures and all their glory. I'll do the same on my channel, and thank you for your support. Have a great week.